Good morning. This is the test corrections for the CBA for 8th graders. Let's get going. Let's go pretty quickly. Number 1 is a dilation with the origin as the center of dilation, which it is every time. So it is new divided by old, or image divided by pre-image. That's the two strategies. So I can count any point and do the division. Easier to count lines, and on this one, the only two lines that you could count are the radius or diameter. I'm going to do the radius because it's a little bit easier. On the old circle 1, the radius is 3. And on the new, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The radius is 8. So the dilation is 8 over 3. I know that it has to be greater than 1 whole because it got larger from circle 1 to circle 2. So I could rule out A. I can rule out A because A says it got smaller, and it couldn't have got smaller. It got larger. B is the correct answer. C was addition, and D was subtraction. You could have ruled out C and D because they're translations. And you could have ruled out A because A said it's getting smaller. 3/8 is less than 1 whole. So you would not even have had to count. All you needed to know is it got bigger and it was a dilation. So the scale factor has to be more than 1 whole. Correct answer was B. Number 2 is a rectangular picture frame that has a diagonal measure of 17 and a height of 8. They really didn't give you much room to work here, so I'll work up above. It is a rectangular picture frame, so it should be a rectangle, and the diagonal was 17. Now, anytime it uses the word diagonal, it's referring to C, the hypotenuse. The height was 8. We're trying to find the base. So this is the Pythagorean theorem. It's 8 squared plus something squared equals 17 squared. 8 squared is 64. 17 squared is 289. And because I'm missing a leg, I have to do some subtraction at the end to get that off of the side with the x. And I end up with x squared is 225. Of course, that answer is way too big, so I have to do the square root. The answer is 15. Oops, excuse me. The answer was 15. So on that one, it was the Pythagorean theorem, missing a leg. Number 3 is a rectangular prism, and it's asking you for the surface area. So you pull out your handy chart, you find surface area prism, and it's pH plus 2b. So it's pH plus 2b. The perimeter of the base would be adding all 3 of the sides, 8 and 15 and 17, because this would be 17 here too. So 8 plus 15 plus 17. Well, A has the wrong numbers in the base, 8, 15, and 25. 25 is the height of the prism. B was the correct answer. C has the wrong numbers, 8, 15, and 25. D has the wrong numbers. So the answer was B, perimeter of the base times the height of the prism plus 2 times the area of the base. Well, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So the correct answer was B as in boy. Number 4, well, it sure doesn't tell you, and it asks for a complete rotation. But it's asking you for the surface area, because when you paint, it's along the surface of the roller, the surface area of a cylinder. So 3 is the radius, and the length is 12. 12 and 3 inches. It's a little tiny arrow for the radius. So then you look at the surface area. Surface area of a cylinder is surface area equals 2 pi r h plus 2 pi r squared. longest formula, but easiest one to do because you just plug in the numbers. 2 times pi times the radius times the height plus, and I'm sorry, it's lateral surface area because I'm not doing the total surface area. I don't want to find out how much paint is on the ends, just the lateral surface area. So it should just be 2 times pi times 3 times 12. Let's see, and that's 36, and that's 6.28. So let me do get out the calculator because I can't do that in my head. 36 times 6.28, and it is 226.08. I think at least 2 of you got that right, and that's pretty incredible. You had to know it's asking for the lateral surface area of a cylinder. Now we did some examples of number 5. In fact, we may have done this problem. No, it's different because it's wanting to know which one will form a right triangle, and the answer is D. And the reason is because 8 squared plus 15 squared does equal, oops, I was writing the answer, 17 squared because both sides would equal 289. So it was Pythagorean theorem. It would not work for the other ones. You could try a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It would not work. B is a common distractor. As you were telling me before, count by 3, 6, 9, 12. That looks like they'd have something in common. But this is 36 plus 81, and this is 144. And if you add these two together, 117 is not equal to 144. That doesn't work. That was just plugging in. Number 8, kind of a tough problem, but again, this is a Pythagorean theorem. It doesn't look like it. -5, 3, and 1, -2. And then you had to count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's over 6. And this is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is what you were missing. You were trying to find the distance between those 2 points. Well, you can't find the distance between 2 points that are slanted unless you do the Pythagorean theorem. So it's 5 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. 25 plus 36 equals c squared. That's 61 equals c squared. So I think c was about 7.8, something like that. So again, it's Pythagorean theorem. When you have 2 points on a diagonal. Number 7, it's a cone. Volume of a cone, that should be an easy one. You look at your formula chart and it says 1/3 area of the base times height. So it's 1/3 pi r squared, because that's how you find the area of a circle, times the height. So it's 1/3 pi radius squared times height. And I can type that in the calculator. 1/3 times pi times 4.5 squared times height. And I get 127.17. So the closest answer was C. So again, using math chart, really important on this one. It's reflected over the y-axis. So if it's reflected across the y-axis, we need to memorize some of these. X would change, and y would stay the same. So the correct answer was C. If it's reflecting across the y-axis, y stays the same. If it's reflected across the x, x stays the same. Wow, this one I can go over with you individually, but you had to add these together and find the average, which was 270. Then you had to subtract all of these from 270, and then you had to average again. I can show you that one again, but I believe the correct answer was C, 70. It's wanting to know how far they are away from the average. So you have to do some subtraction. You have to find the mean twice. Number 10, if it's rotated 180, and again, it's one you just have to memorize. If it's rotated 180, x and y would both be the opposite. It would move as far away as possible. It would be over here in this quadrant. If it's completely in that quadrant, it would be kind of over there. So the negative x, negative y is a rule you just have to memorize on number 10. We'll have to get after memorizing. Number 10, or 11, excuse me, was actually really easy. You're trying to find the scale factor. So you got 6 and 8 as an example. And 6 and 8, which one is the new and which one is the old? Well, it says QRST was dilated, so this is the old and this is the new. So it's old divided by new. So the answer, the scale factor is 8/6, which is also the perimeter. So these are all perimeter, and the perimeter is the same as the scale factor, so I'm looking for an answer that's equivalent to 8/6. You could change them all to decimals. I'm going to simplify to show you that if I divide them both by 2, I get 4/3, and the correct answer was B. All you had to do is old divided by new, and then find which one was equivalent. 8/6 is 1.33333, and so is 4/3. They are equivalent. Number 12 is a cylinder, and it asks you clearly the volume. So volume of a cylinder is area of the base times the height. Well, area of the base would be pi r squared times h. Pi is 3.14, but this is not the radius. You had to do 3 3/4 divided by 2. I'm going to do it a quick way with the calculator. I'm going to do 3 plus 3/4, and I could use, whoops, and then I have to divide it by 2, and I could use 1.875 as my radius. So the radius is 1.875 squared times the height. I think Emily got this one right. But you have to divide 3 3/4 divided by 2. Emily changed it to 1 5/8 if you divide that fraction by 2. The last one was open-ended. I think Jacob was on the right track. I didn't see anybody else that was on the right track. So, preserves congruence. Well, the 3 that preserve congruence are rotation, because you turn it and it stays the same, reflection stays the same, and translation stays the same. Dilation does not preserve congruence. So that's right, that's right, that's right, and that's right. So let's talk about orientation, or which direction it's facing. When you reflect it, it's not facing the same direction. When you translate it, it is.